Thanks, Harry. Andrea Yates' story first shocked the nation almost 3 years ago. The Houston mother was sentenced to life in prison for drowning her 5 young children in the family bathtub. Yet many details of her tragic story have been left untold until now. Investigative reporter Suzanne O'Malley has been corresponding with Yates, and she tells her side of the story in a new book called Are You There Alone? The Unspeakable Crime of Andrea Yates. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Hannah.
Why do you think she chose to establish this correspondence with you? Why did she write you back?
She felt it was so important to set the record straight about her husband, about her family, her mother, her mother-in-law. These people have suffered enormously in the press, and she wanted to speak out in as simple a way as she could to redeem them.
There were so many victims in this case. I want to take a look at her handwriting and some of the letters and start with the first one where she speaks about her children. I want so much to reach out and hold them and give them a squeezy hug, she writes. I'd give John an extra special hug and make him laugh. Suzanne, so many people viewed Andrea Yates as a monster. I'm wondering how you view her in terms of as a mother.
Well, mental illness doesn't discriminate. It attacks mothers and all of us. So she loves to talk about her children. She asks in the correspondence about my child endlessly, things that you would think would be difficult to hear.
Well, that's what I've often wondered as a mother myself. How does she live with the knowledge of what she did? Does she understand fully what she has done? And how does she come to terms with that?
She understands what's happened, and it's a living nightmare for her. I don't think she'll ever forgive herself. She asks her husband, Rusty Yates, how he forgives her. And he said, Andrea, if I were in a car driving the 5 children and I had a heart attack and had a wreck and they all died, would you blame me? Would it be my fault? And she said, no. And he said, well, that's the same thing with you. You're mentally ill. It's a brain sickness.
She writes a lot about her illness, and let's go on to the next letter where she writes, I guess it bothered me the jury didn't think I was mentally ill, and I was offended that they thought there was a, quote, hidden motive. But it was a terrible case, and I'm grateful the jury didn't give me the death penalty. The reason that the jury did not buy or accept the insanity defense because of Texas law is they felt that she knew what she was doing was wrong. She knew right from wrong. But you poured over, what, 2,000 pages of medical records. How mentally ill was she, and does she remain? She,
according to one expert, was one of the 5 sickest patients this doctor had ever treated. And this doctor had treated 6,000 patients. So she's very, very mentally ill. What's confusing is that this disease, and her diagnosis...
What was her diagnosis?
In my book, you'll read that her diagnosis is bipolar.
But she was not diagnosed until after the trial?
She'd been in prison for a year before anybody got it right. Now, you know, brain science, we don't know about this so much. You know, it's more of an art than a science for many doctors. And a lot of the doctor in prison profited by the errors, the 4 years of errors that preceded actually diagnosing her. But it brings up an interesting question, Hannah, because when she was being medicated only for depression, there was a wonderful combination of drugs known as rocket fuel to doctors, kicks people out of depression. But if you're manic depressive, you know, you do not give that combination because it kicks you into mania, makes drowning 5 children an easy job.
So you're saying that this combination of medications fueled her strength to be able to drown these children, because she talks about her medications as well in another letter. She says, quote, there is one thing I must clarify. I have read in more than one publication that I stopped taking my antidepressant and or antipsychotic medications. This is not true. She sounds sane in these letters, Suzanne.
Right. She waxes and wanes. This is how the illness works. It's the same way that she dialed 911. The operator asked her, are you there alone? That's the title of the book. She answered, no, my kids are here. But she knew to do the next right thing of calling 911. But at the same time, another part of her brain was so sick that she could drown 5 children in less than an hour.
So that's the bipolar disorder. Now, her lawyer says that she did not consent to making these letters public. Is she aware that you are going to publish these letters?
We've corresponded for 14 months, and during that time, she's instructed me what she would like to say, what records she'd like to correct. It's very clear in my book.
So you're saying she wanted this out there. You talked about her wanting to clarify her relationship with her husband, Rusty Yates, and she writes in a letter to you, I was pretty sure I had lost Rusty forever, and that's why I said, quote, have a nice life. Now, you were prepared to go down to Texas and implicate this guy, and a lot of people feel that he bears some guilt in this entire case, but what have you found indeed?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I went down, I was ready to hang Rusty Yates, and then I looked at these 2,000 pages of medical records with maybe...
And you talked to him 30 times, right? Or
yes,
at least more?
More than 30, but 30...
What was your conclusion?
My conclusion was that this is a man, and I'm going by nurses' notes in medical records, that he was there every day at the hospital visiting, that he brought flowers, that he brought all 5 kids to the hospital, that he held down a job at NASA at the same time.
So you're saying he was a good husband?
I don't know if he was a good husband. I can't say that, but you know what? He showed up in a lot of ways that I don't even know whether I could have, if I hold myself to that standard, could I have done it? Could any of us?
Right.
A lot of lessons to be learned here.
Suzanne O'Malley, thanks so much. Case is scheduled for appeal next month. If you'd like to read an excerpt from Are You There Alone, just head to the Early Show website at cbsnews.com. We'll be right back. This is the Early Show on CBS.